Hello, divine creations, divine marvels, children of God. Thank you so much for dropping by. To anyone who's new to this channel, a very warm welcome. This is based on the spiritual teachings of this man named Bruno Gröning. And what we do at this channel is we get together and spend some time reflecting on and practicing his teachings. And one of the main ones that he taught was that it's possible for human beings to receive, to take in divine life energy. So it's going to be a bit of it's going to be a meditation where we practice taking in this healing life energy. We also reflect on what Bruno Gröning called the rules of the game of life, meaning how does life operate and what do we need to do to live in harmony with life. Bruno Gröning said, if you want to experience the divine or see the divine, there's different ways to translate what he said. If you want to experience the divine, you must strive after it, or you must strive for it. So this is very important to keep in mind that, on the spiritual path, our goal, the goal, at least as presented by Bruno Gröning and as presented by, many great teachers throughout history, the goal is God, connection, communion, union with God. And of course, to live a life in accordance, to live a good, healthy, joyful, virtuous, and yes, even enjoyable life while being in communion with God, and then in essence expressing that through our life, a joy of life and contributing to life. So many people have, religious leaders have said, life is about doing these actions and not doing these actions. Well, Bruno Gröning and other great teachers have expressed it a little differently. It's about living harmoniously. It's about living universal principles such as love and presence and compassion and service and empathy and faith to really live that way. And Bruno Gröning pointed out that, if you want these things, so first of all, we have to want these things. If you want these things, if you want that life, you must strive for it. Yes, things like spiritual books. Here's a quote, here's a book of Bruno Gröning's sayings. Yes, spiritual books such as this, or, there's many sacred texts out there. And yes, going to a religious group or a religious building, a temple or a church. Yes, all those things are helpful, but that's not what the spiritual life is about. Those are just kind of aids. The spiritual life is about our own striving to live, our own striving to live the things in the books, to live the teachings. Bruno Gröning encouraged people to go to church, but even more so, he said, and practice, put into practice what you hear there. So let's practice a little. Let's practice a beautiful spiritual principle of seeking connection, communion with God. Bruno Gröning gave a very simple way to do this. He called it Einstellen, a German word, which translates as to tune in or to attune, to take in, to focus on. So let's Einstellen, let's attune ourselves to God. Please sit with your legs uncrossed and feet flat on the floor. Hands on your legs, palms facing upwards. Back in a relaxed upright position, not leaning against your chair, but just a nice upright position. And then please close your eyes. And now hand over all the things that are bothering you, worries, fears, illnesses, hand them over to your understanding of a higher power. Really entrust them. In essence, giving the problems to a higher power, but entrusting ourselves and our lives to a higher power, and then ask to receive the divine healing life energy and observe your body, noticing what you feel, having the will, the intention to receive this energy. Just keep coming back to observing the body, striving to focus on God and receive this energy. To anyone who's new, I invite you to continue this practice. I'm going to talk a little bit. Now, here's one of the paradoxes of the spiritual path. We have to strive, but ultimately it is God that helps us, that heals us. It's not us. Bruno Brunning said, only we cannot raise ourselves up. Another way to translate it is exalt. Only God can. So the paradox is something like this. We can't heal ourselves, help ourselves on a spiritual level, and that only God can, and we need to seek out that power. We don't have the needed power, according to Bruno Brunning and many other great teachers. We don't have the needed power to live life, much less solve our problems. That power, however, we have to seek that power. God doesn't force God's self onto us. So let's reflect on that. We don't have what we need to succeed at life, especially from a spiritual perspective. We don't have what we need to succeed at life or overcome our problems. But we do have the capacity to access the power, the divine power, which can and will solve all our problems. So we don't have the power, but as Bruno Gröning said, our soul contains the capacity to receive the power, to tune into the power. Bruno Gröning very clearly said, "What are we without nothing, without God? I say with conviction, nothing." That without God, we really aren't even alive in the truest sense of the word. Thank you so much for joining in, everyone. Oh, wow. Milena, a very warm welcome all the way from Serbia. Thank you so much for joining in. I'm very sorry today I need to make it a shorter meeting. I can go for another minute or two. But to close, just want to look at and thank you for saying hello, Milena. So, we looked at today that if we want communion with God, if we want a spiritual life, we actually have to strive for it. Bruno Gröning pointed this out very clearly. And that simultaneously, like it is our job to strive for God, that in terms of living a spiritual life or solving our problems or healing ourselves, we can't do that. We need to activate this receiving capacity of the soul to receive the power that can heal us, guide us, make us happy. And as Bruno Gröning said, lift us up or exalt us. So, a very warm welcome to Milena, who I believe is new to the channel. Thank you so much for dropping by and saying hello. Jisoo, thank you for saying hi. And all the sweet emojis. And to everyone else who joined in, thank you so much. And I wish you a beautiful day full of the divine connection and full of humility, of recognizing that without God we're nothing, and hence seeking God, striving for God moment by moment, so that we can be in communion to God and to serve this beautiful creation. Thank you so much for joining in. Take care. Much love.